Hi there, today we're going to show you how to replace a standard Freehub body with an XX1 Freehub body. The tools that you will need are going to be two 5mm Allen wrenches, one 1.5mm Allen wrench, a 0.50 Allen wrench for the pawl springs on the Freehub body, and then some grease, some Tech Freehub grease, works really well, some part grease, and also a plastic dead glow hammer. Alright, first we need to remove the existing Freehub body. So in order to do that, we go to the disc side of the hub. We're going to need to remove the tension nut first, right here. This puts a little bit of preload tension on the bearings of the hub. So in order to remove the tension nut, you're going to need a 1.5mm Allen wrench. Now the tension nut is held in place by this little set screw right here. So you put the 1.5mm Allen wrench in there, you just break it loose a little bit, like that. Now the tension nut should just be finger tight, so you should just be able to unthread it. Sometimes you might have to put an Allen wrench, a 5mm Allen wrench, in the drive side end cap just to hold the axle. Then you should just thread right off. Right off, just like that. So, once you have the tension nut off of the axle, you're going to want to take the plastic dead glow hammer here and just tap on the disc side of the axle. You tap on the disc side of the axle, that should push the Freehub body with the bearing out of the hub. Just pop right out, just like that. So, once you have the Freehub body out, with the axle, you can take the Freehub body off the axle by putting a 5mm Allen wrench in the disc side end cap, and then a 5mm in the drive side end cap, and you should just be able to loosen up. The drive side end cap should break free first. So just pull off the drive side end cap, and at that point you have the spacer, and the Freehub body should just slide right off the axle, just like that. The end cap on the non-drive side, on the disc side, has Loctite on it, so the end cap on the quick release version of the axle, so that should not come off. Should not get affected. Alright, once we have the old Freehub body off of the hub, we need to switch the pawls from the old Freehub body to the new one. So to switch the pawls, you're going to need a .050 Allen key. This is a standard size Allen key. It's usually the smallest one in a standard pack of Allen wrenches. So each pawl is held on by the spring, which is held on by this little screw right here. So to take that screw off, we just put the Allen in there, back it off. Once you take the screw off the spring, the screw and the springs come right off, and the pawl then comes right off of the Freehub body, just like that. Alright, once you have all the pawls and springs off of the old Freehub body, you're going to want to install them on the new one. You're going to need some grease for this. We recommend the Tech Freehub grease. It works really well. So, get that open. We like to put a little bit of grease. We like to use a little paintbrush, a little bit of grease in the paintbrush. Put it right on the Freehub body when the pawls are going to sit. So just put a little bit. It doesn't need a whole, doesn't need too much. Just kind of paint a little bit in there in each one. So once you have a little bit of grease in there, I like to take each pawl, put each pawl on the Freehub body where it sits. So all the pawls are on the Freehub body. They're going to take the spring. The spring is what's going to hold the pawl onto the Freehub body. So you take your little the screw, put it on the spring, and as you can tell, these springs, one side is rounded more on the springs. You want the rounded side of the spring facing the bearing on the Freehub body. Alright, so we're going to put these little baby screws through the spring. The spring, the more rounded side is going to be facing the bearing, and then just put the spring over the pawl. And then when you go to tighten it, you might want to press down on the spring or on the pawl so that it keeps the spring from turning. It keeps the spring straight. I tighten it down like that. Now, the actual torque specs for these little baby screws is about 30 to 35 ounces. We have this little mini torque wrench here that we like to use here at Project 321. So I'm just going to torque it down like that. Now after you're done tightening all the springs down, you might want to go back and just check and make sure that each pawl moves freely. It should snap right back up, just like that. Alright, once we have the pawls back on the Freehub body, they're all torqued down to the proper specs, I put a little bit of grease, of the Freehub grease, on the top of all the pawls, as well as inside of the drive ring on the hub. Got a nice little coat on the drive ring there in the hub. Then I took some park grease. I put some park grease on the inner diameter of the bearing races, inside the bearings, a little bit on the axle. I'm going to slide the Freehub body back onto the axle. Slide it right back on the axle there. Now it's ready to go back inside the hub. Alright, we have the axle back through the Freehub body. Now we have the Freehub body back in the hub. So, we put the axle through the hub there. Once you get that Freehub body part way into the hub, you want to kind of spin it backwards, kind of backpedal until it drops down and the pawls sit inside of the drive ring. And you do that just by kind of pushing in and spinning the Freehub backwards and freewheeling it. So now you have it in part way. One easy way to press it in is just to get a piece of wood, put the hub on the piece of wood, and just press it right in there, just like that. Now the Freehub body is pressed back in. So, there we are. Now we just need to adjust the hub. So let's put the spacer back on the drive side. Let's put the end cap back on there as well. Take your two 5mm Allen wrenches, one in the disc side, one in the drive side end cap. Get it nice and snug there, not too tight. Doesn't have to be too tight, but so we have all that together. As you can see, the Freehub space, or the spacer on the end of the Freehub is still kind of floating around there. You're going to want to take our deadbolt hammer and just kind of tap the axle over a little bit. You want to make sure the axle is pushed all the way to the disc side so that the end cap and the spacer are up against the bearing there. So once you have that all pressed up against there, take the tension nut, thread the tension nut back on the end, the disc side of the axle, up against the bearing on the disc side. This is going to put a little bit of preload on the bearing and take the play out of out of the hub. Okay, take a 5mm Allen, put it in the drive side, and the tension nut just has to be finger tight. Doesn't have to be too crazy tight. So just kind of snug it up there, finger tight. Take your 1.5mm Allen wrench and just kind of tighten that set screw down right there to hold the tension nut. Then you're done. Alright, and that's how you install a XX1 Freehub body with a 135 QR axle. If you have any more questions, if you want to know how to adjust a 142 by 12 axle or overhaul a hub, check out our other videos online at project321.com.